On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. One-of-a-kind opinions, big-name guests, the teams you care about every day. It's the Ron Johnson Show, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Ron Johnson Show, and I'm your host, Ron Johnson. On today's episode, we're going to have Antoine Burns, former Gophers wide receiver, one of my best friends, also NFL wide receiver as well. Went to the Seahawks. I think he was with the Panthers for a little bit as well. But we're going to have Antoine Burns on to do the Daily 3, talk a little football, talk a little quote game, and then we're also going to talk about the Vikings press conference. What did we get from it? What are the takeaways? Does this mean wins? Is this losses? What's going to happen with the Vikings and this GM-led crew with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah? But, of course, there's other press conferences and media days that happen. That is Gophers football. PJ Fleck hit the press trail, I guess you would call it. The players were in tow. But as we bring in my producer, Sam Ekstrom, Sam,
what's up, Ron?
Before we get into this, because there's a lot going on with Gophers football. They've been ranked. Everybody's been told what they think of this Gophers football team, which means if you're in this spot, and we'll tell you what the spot is, you have a chance to win the Big Ten, at least the Big Ten West, because in the spot they're in, it's very winnable from what people say, and I'll tell you why. But before we jump into that, we have a word from our sponsors.
You got it. Let me tell you about BlueNile.com. This is a great tool for any gentleman out there who's looking to buy a certain sparkly gift for a significant other, perhaps. It's an online tool that lets you find the shape, the size, the clarity that you desire so you can get the perfect piece that she's absolutely going to love, whether that's engagement or another special occasion. Find a one-of-a-kind ring at BlueNile.com. If you're looking for fine jewelry but having trouble choosing, Blue Nile also has jewelry experts on hand 24/7 to provide support via phone or chat. Make that big moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more, and this podcast exclusive also includes engagement. So use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com today.
Yeah, Sam, so as we jump into this, and, you kind of said, what's the temperature of today's show? Well, the temperature is Encore. I guess we'll go with that. Encore 4. That's kind of the cool name the Gophers have given 4 players that have been here for 6 years. And PJ Fleck said this is one of the most dedicated, bought-in groups that he's had. He said when your hardest workers are your best players, you find success. I can agree with that. I look at my daughter's softball team. Our best players were our hardest workers. They wanted to get better. They wanted to make plays happen. So that's happening here with the Gophers. You look at Mariano Sarmarian, look at Tyler Nubin. You look at those guys coming back. Of course, you have Tanner Morgan at quarterback. You got Mo Ibrahim. We know he is going to be one of those. We got John Michael Schmitz, who could have left and went to the NFL, but he's coming back to the offensive line. And then, again, Chris Autman-Bell, one of the best receivers in the Big Ten. So when you look at those guys, and those 4 specifically, you got Tanner Morgan, you got John Michael Schmitz, you got Mo Ibrahim, and you got Chris Autman-Bell. That's the Encore 4. You have 4 guys that are really bought into this program. You also, within 6 years now, you've gotten rid of guys, not gotten rid of, that word. You've guys have moved on that were from the previous regime and recruited by previous coaches. That's a big part of this. When you get guys, only guys that you recruit, you get only guys that know your system. It's sometimes tough for guys to come from old systems and get put in new systems and really be bought in 100% because they're like, well, we did it this way and this is how we had done it before. You always are going to have that little man on your shoulder, Coach Macy used to call it, kind of telling you, nah, let's do it a different way. He doesn't have that. He had to have guys that are thinking opposite ways of what to do in a situation. They are FLECK guys. And so I think the leaders are starting to buy in. The 9-win seasons, guys are starting to see the actuals. Like, you can talk all day, but if you're not winning games, it's tough for players to be bought in. And so what I'm getting is just a team that's successful, players that has been recruited and have all been together and have bought into the program and the whole roll the boat and RTB and everything. Like the ball is the program. Like they've bought into this. They've bought into it all. And so now if it's like, hey, we're right there on the cusp, 9 wins, 10 wins, 9 wins. Like we're right here. We're going to bowl games beating Auburn. We're right at it. But what's next? Can we turn the corner? And so the Gophers coming into this right now, they have Wisconsin, Iowa, and then Minnesota third in the Big Ten West. The key to that is that's saying that the Gophers can't beat Iowa or Wisconsin. That's all that is. That's what they're literally saying in this. And when you think about it, they haven't beat them. Like they beat Wisconsin, they got the axe, but they haven't beat Iowa. They can't do two. They have not been able to get both. But Sam, in your opinion, from that presser and all the stuff PJ Fleck is saying, do you feel like the Encore 4 plus the balled-in players, do you feel like that's enough to overtake the Big Ten West?
So I look at what I think held this team back last year, and it was an offense that could not move the ball, even against the most meager opponents, whether it was Illinois or Bowling Green. There didn't seem to be a lot of faith in that offense. They didn't throw the ball very aggressively at all. The play calling was conservative, and you've talked about this, Ron. Offensive coordinator was a problem. Well, now they've got a new offensive coordinator, one that they trust, one that PJ Fleck talked about yesterday a lot. They've got a 6th-year quarterback, 6th-year center, 6th-year running back, 6th-year wide receiver. You've got an offense with guys that are so old and mature, they're getting married. Like, I think a couple of those Encore 4 guys are either engaged or married. Like, that, you definitely have an experienced, seasoned, battle-tested offensive core. So if you can't win with this offense, that's going to be your downfall again, because this is an offense that should be ready to win when you have talent on the line, talent at receiver, talent at running back and quarterback that's been around for so long. That's got to be how you win. You've got the coordinator now. You don't have that excuse. You've got a healthy Mo Ibrahim back. You got to win with the offense. Got to be better this year, and I think they're definitely equipped to do that. And if you can coach up the defense a little bit, you definitely can win one or both of those games.
Yeah, when you look at, and I'm not going to go to Gopher schedule. I'm going to go to Badgers, because the Badgers schedule to me does seem extremely easy, and this is probably why they put Wisconsin number 1. Look at Illinois State, Washington State, New Mexico State. Ohio State's a tough one. That's probably a loss. Illinois, Northwestern, Michigan State. That's the one. If Michigan State can help Minnesota out, that's the one. You got Purdue, you got Maryland, you got Iowa. Now, depending on how the season's going at that point, I wish both teams could lose, but it can't happen. It's figuring out who can, who do you need to lose that game? And my guess is up to that point, it might actually be Iowa needs a loss, because I think Wisconsin might lose to Ohio State and Michigan State. And so at that point, it's up to the 2 lost teams, and Minnesota not being one of them, or being, right with them with the 2 losses, to be able to get in because they were the last team in. And then you got Nebraska, and then you got Minnesota. And where I go with this is that Minnesota's schedule is just as favorable. You got, and Wisconsin does have Washington State in there. Now, Washington State is an enigma. We don't know what team you're going to get out of the Cougs. You could get a really good team, or you can get just a bat, like, out of their minds. We don't know what's going on team. We'll see what that looks like. But you got New Mexico State, you got Western Illinois for Minnesota, you got Colorado, and then you got Michigan State. That's going to be the one. If Minnesota can find a way to get past Michigan State, it's then they have some breathing room to beat Purdue, beat Illinois, and then maybe lose to a Penn State, beat a Rutgers, beat a Nebraska, beat a Northwestern, and then you got the Iowa-Wisconsin. If you can split Iowa-Wisconsin, now you are 10-2. If somehow you falter and lose to Penn State and Michigan State, you got to win both those games. And I think that's where the Big Ten is putting them. They're putting them on a loss to Michigan State, Penn State, Iowa, Wisconsin. Even if they split one of the 2, they've lost 3. Losing 3 probably doesn't do it when you look at Wisconsin's schedule. But crazier things have happened in the Big Ten. Crazier things have happened in football. And that's why we watch the games, because you never know. You never know. Like the kid from Michigan State that ran out of his mind against Michigan. Nobody expected that to happen. Like, it's just one of those things where you never truly know what's going to happen in the season. But I think the Gophers can get it done, but they are going to need some help from other teams. Like, that's going to be the key, is what can they do to get past those teams? And then what can those teams do to help them? Like, can Michigan State help and knock off Wisconsin? Can Iowa, depending on who needs it, can Iowa, Wisconsin be the one that wins that Minnesota needs? Like, if both of them have, or one of them has 2 losses, one has 1 loss, we need the team with 1 loss to lose, because we need it to be tied 2-2, and then the Gophers have a chance. If you can beat both, you're in. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you falter early against Jerry Kill, because we know Jerry Kill is coming to Minnesota to put everything on the table. He's going to throw the kitchen sink at this guy. He's going to blitz. He's like, look, we're probably going to get beat, but we're going to go out fighting. We're going to pull the pins on grenades and wait for you to turn our bodies over, and we're going to die together. Like, Jerry Kill is not going to go down without a fight. Like, this game has been circled on his calendar. This game has been, like, the minute he found out, yep, I'm taking the head coaching job, and we scheduled Minnesota, he's been getting ready, because that's all you do the first week of training camp, second week of training camp. You prepare for that first game. You don't worry about the rest of your season. Like, New Mexico State, they'll be fine. But now you have Jerry Kill down there, and in his mind, he's got to get it done. And if I'm not mistaken, Richard Pitino is down in New Mexico State too. So you got 2 former Gophers coaches down in New Mexico trying to get it done. And Jerry Kill is going to come guns ablaze. So now it's time for the Hanging with Ron Johnson segment with my boy Antoine Burns, former Gophers receiver, former NFL receiver. As we bring Antoine into the show, Antoine, man, it's good to have you on. His son is my godson. He's now graduated high school, so that's when I realized I was old when my godson graduated high school. But as we go back to this is training camp time for college and pro football. As you think about the first time you had to pack your bags and get on the road and come to Minnesota, like, what was going through your mind?
To be honest, I was a little bit nervous about the unexpected. Going into what we used to have was the original 2-a-days. The unexpected was the most thing I was really nervous about, but I was excited. I was ready, but I was more so I was just nervous because of the unexpected, pretty much.
Yeah, when you think about that, man, Glenn Mason, I mean, I had been there, so I already knew what to expect. But I know my freshman year was the same thing. We just did not know. I knew it was football. But your run test, like, how did that go for you? Because I know for me, I passed it with flying colors. I know guys were throwing up. How was your run test when you first got here?
Hey, listen, you'll never forget those 110s. But I always passed my test. I was one of the things where I wouldn't let my pride. Couldn't fail those tests. But I passed all my tests with flying colors. But I'm gonna tell you one thing though, it sucked. It really sucked. Them 110s sucked for real. They sucked.
Yeah, and then we switched to like 50-yard shuttles or 60-yard shuttles. That was even worse to me. I hate to start and stop. With my long legs, I'm good to go, but I hate start and stop stuff. That was built for those little guys. But man, like college days, I had Spice Adams on yesterday, and Penn State game came up. Like, what's one of the memories, man, that you have from the Penn State Minnesota game that everybody talked about, and of course Ohio State too, but Penn State, Ohio State, like, what's the memories from those beating 2 giants?
Well, we can talk about that Penn State game that was huge, man. You had a spectacular catch in that game, man. It was awesome just for the university. I think they was number 2, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
That was a huge moment. You and Arlen, you guys did a great job of putting Dan in a position to get that winning kick, man, and upset them boys. As far as Ohio State, I can remember Ohio State game. I don't think I traveled that game, but I think I watched that game, and that was I think that was your coming out party that game, man. You did some great things in that game. I think we had Travis was the quarterback at the time. You guys had some amazing connections. But just to talk about those 2 different games, man. With Penn State being one of the powerhouses, and Ohio State obviously is still one of those powerhouses. For us to do what we did against those 2 teams was simply amazing, man. I was just glad to be around and be a part of that.
And when you think about the NFL, now you transitioned out of Minnesota, you head to the NFL. you get that call, hey, we want you to come and be a part of our organization. What was that like getting down there for an NFL training camp? Because that's what these guys are doing now. They're leaving now. They're heading to training camp. I just saw Kyle Rudolph post. I saw Adam Thielen leave the house. I saw CJ Ham. You're starting to see, Anthony Harris goes to his Philadelphia training camp. So you're seeing all the guys now post, leaving the house or first day of school pictures. How was that?
For me, again, it was the nerves, but I was excited, man. It was one of the childhood dreams, the opportunity just to be able to step out there with some of the guys that you watch on TV. Yeah, it was like it was a going away party. Like first day of school. Just excited to see what was to come. And, just excited to get to work.
And what team, between Seattle and the Panthers, like what team for you would have been like the best experience?
I would say camp for me, my best experience was in Carolina. At that point, I already had my foot in the door, so I knew what to expect. So camp went pretty well for me in Carolina. So I think that was the most exciting experience I had right there. That was great for me. Was going back to going to camp in Carolina.
But like what was exciting about? I mean, I know Julius Peppers was there because he and I were friends, and what was exciting about it?
I guess we can say I guess what it was excited about, me having, like I said, a year under my belt, and then obviously I was there for 2 years. So going back that second year was a little bit more exciting because I kind of had the experience. I met a couple guys like going out there with Steve, being at work with Steve, going up against some of the top corners like Chris Gamble, who was one of the top corners at the time, being able to compete with those guys. The connections I made, you just mentioned Julius Peppers. One camp story about him was, I had to come down in motion and try to crack that guy, man. Listen, that's not a job for the faint at heart, man. Trying to crack a guy that's 6'8", 280, almost 300 pounds, man. Trying to do a crack block on him, but that was just some of the fun that I had down, in camp, and I looked forward to like each and every day.
Yeah, and look at, going back to Glenn Mason, we've had some ups and downs with Glenn. The program kind of, where they are now with Marion Barber, Maroney, Luke Leverson, all those names. And you look at what the program is now with PJ Fleck. When you hear roll the boat, what does that mean to you?
You know what? I think about that is, we're going back with Mason. Mason did a great job with us, but to hear the thing roll the boat, it just seems like something, you got to be all in. Everybody has to be in. We all have to be rowing at the same time, be on the same page in order for the team to be successful. I think that's a great thing that Fleck uses. That's roll the boat, because you think about it, if you're on a boat, let's say you're paddling a boat, everybody got to be paddling at the same way. Otherwise, that boat's just going to go in circles. So I just think that's a great mantra that he has with them, and I think he's done a great job with the program thus far.
All right, so now we're gonna have some fun with, man. You gotta go back some stories that people don't know, man. Like, you have some fun with you. So in the locker room, Styles G. White, Greg White, like explain, because you were his roommate. You had to deal with this dude as a roommate at one point.
Right.
And you had Jason Green, and at some point your apartment caught on fire. Like, and I was in the building. Like, I slept through the fire alarm. Thank God the fire department stopped the fire. But how did your room catch on fire?
So here's it's funny you mentioned that, man, because here's the story about this, right? So I left. Remember, we had the McDonald's on campus, right? So I left to go to McDonald's, and as we're at McDonald's, I started to hear all these different sirens. I'm like, gee, I hope whatever's going on, I hope it's all right. And I'm laughing. And right now I'm like, I should have been laughing, because now laughing at people, it happened to me. But I'm sitting there laughing, and I'm like, damn, I hope nothing too bad ain't happening, but not laughing as in maliciously laughing. So as we're coming back, I started to look at the building. I'm like, wait a minute, that smoke coming from Wilt, right? So as I get closer, I look. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, that is that my room? And I kind of found out it was my room. What happened was Jay Green, he was trying to get the apartment all cozy for a young lady or whatever it was. He had lit some candles, right? So he lit some candles, and it was a quilt that my grandma had made. It was sitting on the table, and he lit the candle and set it right next to the quilt, to where the candle got so hot that it caught the quilt on fire. So that's what happened with that situation, man. It was just crazy, man. He told me later, he's like, man, I was trying to get I was trying to get the room cozy for this and just caught. I'm sorry, Burns. Like whatever, but that's what happened with that situation. He was trying to get it ready for some young lady or something.
Yeah, man, because I mean, I slept through it, and then I wake up the next morning. Thank God, like, they stopped it. But I woke up the next morning, and, like, I see it. I see, like, the window and all that stuff, and I see the yellow tape, and I'm like, "What the?" And they're like, "Yeah, you didn't hear the fire alarm last night?" And I'm like, "No." Like, I was passed out. Like, I was so tired from practice. Like, I was out of it, and I had no idea that this dude had caught the apartment on fire. You guys were on the other side of the building though too, so that was the perfect thing for me. You guys were in the other corner, so it took a while for it to get to my room. But yeah, I was like, man, what in the world? Like, how did we catch a building on fire? Like, and I remember Glenn Mason saying that, like, what idiot? And of course, it was Jason Green. And so, and then like Greg White, you had Greg White too, and he changed his name to Styles because of the movie Teen Wolf. But, there's a story of this dude like having a Skittles and putting it in his belly button and then eating it. Like, what was like, what goes through his mind half the time?
I mean, you know what? I think Greg, he just dares to be different, man. Like that's how he is. He got that energy that he wants to be different, man. I remember coming in the locker room, man, and he's sitting laid back like this. He got the Skittles sitting on his stomach. Yeah, man. But I think he just one of them guys that just dares to be different, man. He was a funny guy, man. Greg, Styles. I'm sorry, I'm calling him Greg, but that's the name I'm used to. But Styles, he had his way of trying to get the attention from everybody, and it worked, especially with the Skittles, man. That was just some of the weirdest stuff, man. Yeah, it was uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, I went down to Tampa, and his teammates had no idea his name was Greg, and so when I called him Greg, they were laughing so hard because he's Style. I mean, he changed his name to Styles G White. Like, so that's the dude's name. He has blue hair now, so clearly, yeah, he's a different guy. But I want to thank my boy Antoine for joining me on the Ron Johnson Show. Up next, we got the Daily 3 as we transition. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. Sam Ekstrom is going to jump in.
All right, Ron, Daily 3 time. I've got quotes from yesterday's Minnesota Vikings press conferences, and I'm going to have you react. Kwesi talked, KOC talked, Harrison, Dalvin, a lot of juicy stuff. So here's quote number 1. See what you think. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah speaking to reporters. He says, quote, "My wife tells me sometimes to say less, so I'll say less." That's a good piece of advice for any married man. And here's the context of it, Ron. Kwesi was a little upset about the way his quotes were perceived from that USA Today story that we talked about yesterday, where he said some stuff about Kirk. He said some stuff about the Rams going full Rams, and it sounds like he's maybe going to take that advice and not say as much, not be as transparent. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've met the guy. I got a chance to talk to him. Whether it was just informal or what, I know the Vikings had some questions about he and I talking because of the tweets I put out. So I know they're very particular about what gets out in the media that he says. When you're building a new regime, you want to make sure you're saying all the right things. And a lot of times we were so upset with canned answers. And now we get a guy that's speaking his mind, speaking the truth. And now we're going to chastise and not really, whether it's reiterate or ask or really portray what he said. It's tough. And this is why we live in a society where people do not want to speak their minds, is because of that. Because the minute somebody says exactly what they're thinking, we take the negative out of it and not the positive, not the point that he's saying Kirk Cousins threw for 4,300 yards. We don't need to blow it up. I know I don't have Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes. What's wrong with saying that? Like, you're talking about 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks who take every chance possible, who are okay with throwing 30 touchdowns and 20 interceptions. That's not Kirk Cousins. He's a perfectionist. So I don't understand the negative around it. I took it as I got a quarterback that I think can win some games for us. I got a quarterback that if our defense plays the way they can play and our offense plays the way they've been playing, we have a chance to be in the playoffs. And then who knows from there? Once everybody's in the playoffs, it's anybody's game. So I don't like how people do it and how they try to like twist people's words. And I hate the clickbait headings. But hey, everybody has a job to do. Everybody has people that, come read my article. USA Today with the, we're not going to go full blown Rams. Everybody wanted to see what the hell they was talking about. What does that mean? He's not going to go full blown Rams. So when you think about that, when you think about Kwesi and what he's saying, he's just like, look, I've already said too much. The organization's already told me, hey, you got to be careful. You don't want to ruffle any feathers with any players. You don't want to, start off on Kirk Cousins' bad side. I think that's why he's probably just saying less. Like, look, I didn't mean it that way. My guess is he's going to have to talk to Kirk. Hey, this is what I meant. I said you threw for 4,300 yards. And then when somebody has so many letters to put into an article, they leave out some stuff. So I'm pretty sure there's some other stuff that probably could have been put in there as he kept talking, but they just went with, hey, this is the juicy quote. So I get it, though. Say less, and then you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, Kwesi claimed the Kirk quotes were taken out of context. He did apologize to the Rams for his going full Rams quote. He couldn't really wiggle his way out of that one. Quote number 2 from Harrison Smith. Quote, I appreciate it because I'm a Nick Cage fan myself. Why is Harrison Smith talking about Nick Cage? It's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, slow-mo entrance into Green Bay Packers training camp. He's got the wife beater, the jeans, the slicked back long hair. Quintessential Nick Cage, Ron. I assume you saw the video.
Yeah, I saw the video. I saw the side-by-side. I saw it all. I mean, when you have hair like that and you're married to a movie star, hey, like, why not do it? Like, you're living a movie star's life right now. Like, you're probably going to be in the next Divergent movie somehow. As what was it, 4? There was 6. I mean, what is he going to be, 12 in the movie? Like, I could see that happening. But everybody does something. Like Reggie Wayne to me, like I was with the coach as a coach, so Reggie Wayne to me did it better than anybody. He had an actual fighter pilot drop him off. He had a helicopter drop him off, and he was like decked out in Maverick gear because he was saying he was Maverick or whatever or Top Gun. He showed up in a dump truck, like he rented a dump truck, was dropped off in the dump truck, like full, like rock bed, everything, with the yellow, the yellow vest, the hard hat, because he said he was reporting to work, and he was about to do some blue collar lunch box. He had a lunch pail. I mean, Reggie Wayne, he showed up in an F1 Indy 500, because they're in Indy 500 race car. Like, had somebody get him one of those. So again, I get where Aaron Rodgers is going. Everybody used to do that back in the day anyway. There was all kinds of guys, Antonio Brown, I think, showed up in a helicopter with a silver briefcase one time with his family, saying he was ready to get the bag or secure the bag or something like that, and he had money in the suitcase. And I mean, it's everybody does stuff like that. Aaron Rodgers is just a little bit more subtle with his, and he showed up like Nicolas Cage, and of course everybody picked up on it because of the hair right away. I dig it. Like, it's cool. And that's like why Harrison Smith likes it. Like, why not? Like, you guys have been in the league for a long time. Some of that old school stuff is kind of going out the door, but Aaron Rodgers remembers because he was around that era. He was around the Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning days when Reggie Wayne used to do that. And I mean, you had a lot of guys do stuff like that. It was always one or two. It wasn't the entire team showed up and crazy, but you had one or two guys that would show up and say they were ready for work. Like they had a plan. Whatever. I know the Ravens, we had Ray Lewis and some of those guys would do stuff like that, where they would show up dressed as something, or, hey, I'm reporting to duty, or they're in a Men in Black suit because, I'm going to erase the memories of every quarterback I see. Everybody has something. So I get it. I dig it.
Last year, Patrick Peterson showed up in, I don't even know if the thing was street legal, like a Batmobile, customized purple and gold, had some black accents, sweet ride. And they had like a whole press release about it to get people's attention. You can't go with the press release route. You got to just show up, and you got to let it happen organically. I appreciate the look from Rodgers because it was pretty organic and pretty spot on, and obviously they got the cameras there, so they captured it and put it out on social. But nobody likes a good meme more than Aaron Rodgers. He loves memeing himself. One more quote for you, Ron. From Dalvin Cook. I've been trying a lot more acupuncture this offseason. I mean, who isn't getting more acupuncture nowadays? But Dalvin Cook is trying to stay on the field for 17 games. He's doing everything in his power to get his body right for the season. So acupuncture or not, Ron, is Dalvin Cook going to find a way this season to stay healthier as he hopes to?
Well, if this is going to be a full-blown Rams type offense, And clearly, Kwesi, like that's a slip of the tongue. The slip of the tongue is like, I probably shouldn't have said Rams because I'm giving away too much. But also, they're going half Rams. They're not going to go full-blown Rams. They're not blowing up the team, but they are going to do Ram stuff. So if you think about that offense, the running back isn't highly used all the time. This is going to be a team that he's going to have to do what's comfortable to his offense. Like you can't come in, not any coach can call it the run game. But if you're not comfortable, you don't know when exactly to call it. And like you said, trying to figure out when to run the ball, like not on second and long, let's still pass the ball. If it's first down and we don't get a successful run, let's pass the ball. We're not going to run it again just because we're in second and long. If it's third and short, do you run? Maybe. We probably pass the ball. So this is going to be a team that passes, and then second and short, you probably see a run. I don't think Dalvin Cook's going to have as much usage. I think he's going to have production, but I don't think he's going to have as much usage. So that should help. But the acupuncture is just blood flow, making sure the hamstrings are staying loose, making sure the muscles aren't getting tense, making sure you're getting the blood flow to all parts of the body. You're relaxing. You're not tense. You're not getting the little pains and aches. Acupuncture comes with a chiropractor. So, getting adjusted, making sure you're aligned, making sure your toes and your knees and everything's aligned so that, every single step is nice and comfortable. You're not out there stepping wrong and all of a sudden you tweak your back because your sacrum is off. The acupuncture is not just acupuncture. It comes with some type of other, adjustment or something, whether it's a massage or, something. So I think that's going to be the cool thing about it is Dalvin Cook now is probably looking at, I got money to pay to take care of my body. I probably need to do it because this is like our success is me staying on the field. If I'm off the field, now we're trying to scramble and figure out who's going to play next. Also, that's an easy way for somebody to say we need to renegotiate that contract because you haven't been healthy. If he can say, all 17 games this year, there's no question, that the Vikings won't be successful, but that's got to be the key. But that's what I think he's saying. He knows what he has to do to, one, keep the money, stay on the field, and win these games.
This might be its own topic for a different show, but is Dalvin Cook maybe the only guy on that roster who looks at the coaching change and says, I don't know if this is great for me? Because nobody was in Dalvin's court like Mike Zimmer. Nobody wanted to give Dalvin the ball like Mike Zimmer. And now he's got a coach who might want to spread it around and who might not quite have the affection for Dalvin Cook that Mike Zimmer did. Just an interesting thing to noodle on.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell did play for the Patriots, though, too. So they had a similar style offense. It was always like it was a bunch of different running backs that caught the ball out the backfield. It was never really just a diehard. You never really truly had, way back in the day, I'm talking about Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, but before them, yeah. But, you never really truly, like Bledsoe, yeah, they were running the ball. But Brady became a passing team. And so it was always running back by committee. Yeah, they needed running backs, Kevin White or whatever, White and all those other guys. But it was never truly like Danny Woodhead. It was never truly just a workhorse back that we're going to pay a lot of money to. They did draft Lawrence Maroney in the first round, and that was kind of their start of thinking they need to run the ball. And then what happened? They ended up going away from it and still passing the ball. So even with Lawrence Maroney, they still threw the ball. And that was their first-round draft pick. So I think when it comes down to it, Kevin O'Connell is going to do what feels comfortable. And, yeah, you're right. Dalvin Cook that might be a topic. Dalvin Cook might be the one. But I want to thank Antoine Burns for joining us on the Ron Johnson Show. Thank you, Sam Ekstrom. We thank you all for listening. This is Locked On Sports Minnesota. This is the Ron Johnson Show. You can download, subscribe, comment, like, share. Take us wherever you go, but have a great day.